So welcome everybody. How you doing? Thank you for coming to Comp Wednesdays, Valuation with aka Valuation Wednesdays. Again, my name is Renee Oliva for the new people. I know there's always a few new people that come in every week. We get kind of a new crowd in and out of, and of course we have our regulars that come in. So again, my name is Renee Oliva, and I am a broker associate with eXp Realty. And I've been here since last March. I also have a background in real estate appraisal and valuation. So that is my background, plus so I have many years of valuation experience. But to let everybody know at the beginning, all these trainings from now on are going to be recorded. Okay, so just to let you know on that, just in case you need to go back to this training for just a refresher, or you need to get some information that we went over, it is recorded, so you can get a copy of this recording of this training. Also, of course, if it's recorded, it's also just watch what you say. Be mindful that it is recorded. Also, a little disclaimer on my part, even though I do have a background in valuation, property valuation, I am doing this training as a licensed broker associate with eXp Realty, okay? So I just wanted, that's a little disclaimer that I need to make out there just to let you know, okay? So again, welcome to Valuation Wednesdays, Comp Wednesdays. This is kind of definitely an open forum. Not just comping. We're not going to talk. Of course, we're going to talk about valuation and comping for sure. That's the trading. But we're also going to go over some other things. I like to go over different things, different subjects, articles in the that I've read about valuation, about the market, about just different aspects, because everything is a part of the valuation process, right? All these different things affect the market, and what affects the market affects the value on your property, right? So just to let you know, all these different things, not just, there's, things that appreciate your property, things that depreciate your property, up markets, down markets. So just besides just comping, looking at property and evaluating property, I'm going to go over a couple other little things, articles, and some information that I received during the week that I think are pretty interesting and that definitely have an influence on the real estate market and values, right? We know that the values, we're kind of in a shifting market, hear that every day, all the time. Again, the market is crashing, and the reason why they say the market is crashing, the media is what is the media there for? To get attention, right? To grab your attention. And so when people start writing and talking about all this market crashing, it grabs your attention. So that's why they throw that out there. We get the positive things, we get the negative things, and but they're looking for ratings, right? On the media. So today we're just going to go over some things real quick before we get into the valuation. I want to bring up some articles and an article that I read that I thought was pretty interesting, and then two other like little diagrams, little informational tidbits that I wanted to also bring up today. So I am going to share my screen. And welcome everybody else who came in. Laura, Maricela, Delia, hello. Ishad, thank you. Donovan, thank you for coming in. So I am going to share my screen. And I am going to share my iPhone real quick. So hopefully this will work. So this is my iPhone, blah, blah, blah. And I want to share this article real quick with you. It's an article that I read the other day, and I actually sent this to Frank. Can everybody hear me, by the way? Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
We good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is an article that I'm always reading. I'm always looking for stuff. Not just for to present in the trainings, but just for my own information. I always want to be on top of things. So I just read this and I thought this was very interesting. That the homeowners are suing real estate brokers and try to recoup home values. You know, there's, I guess people, you know, they're suing their realtors now because of, you know, either they bought too high or they sold too low, this, that, and the other. So we're seeing that the buyers and sellers of 2021, 2022 are coming back now and saying, hey, you know, what happened? You know, what's going on here? Now they're upset. What do we call that? Buyer's remorse. So we're starting, apparently through via this article, we're starting to see, and not just this article, I've seen other articles just like this one, seeing where, you know, buyers and sellers are coming back to the realtors and saying, hey, what's up? What happened, right? So lawsuits against real estate professionals increased 9% between 2021 and 2022 as home prices decline. And this article, they're interviewing this guy, this Zach Volber. He's a senior vice president at Victor's Insurance Managers. I think he's a global underwriter. So again, this is just, you know, one person's opinion, but a couple of things that I kind of pulled out from this, a couple paragraphs here that I thought were very interesting that I thought I could bring up to you and to kind of let you be a little bit more aware. So Volber added that lawsuits targeting real estate professionals are common when home prices fall, right? Which makes sense. Oftentimes they're filed by sellers who waited too long to list their home, or buyers who might have overlooked a minor issue during the inspection process and now live in a home with a value below what they paid. Right? So we got to be that's the reason for these trainings. So we can be trained to value property and with full disclosure and with due diligence to our clients, right? Of course, are we going to be 100% accurate, you know, all the time, 100% of the time? Who knows? We try. That's what we got to try that, right? So home buyers who might have overlooked a minor issue, right? Got to, you know, when you're out there doing a home inspection, a finalist walkthrough inspection with your buyers, you know, watch those things. Look, you know, always looking. I'm going to send a check sheet, excuse me, a checklist of things to look out for, things, property repairs and things that you should definitely be looking for when you're doing that final walkthrough or just the initial walkthrough when you're with your buyers, right? And let's see, or of course your sellers, right? Your sellers that just waited too long. They should have listed last year, but now they're listing this year. So they're like, or late last year and this year. They're like, what happened? What's going on here? You know, they just waited a little bit too long, which they probably should have listed their property if they're going to sell earlier in the year of last year, right? So those things we can't really help. I mean, it's up to the sellers whether they want to sell their homes. But these are the things that we have to bring to their attention. That if you would, you know, they think that the values of early last year are the same like today, but that's not quite the issue. So this is one of the items that really kind of popped out when I was reading this article. And the second thing that popped out in this article that I was reading, I'm just going to give you these 2 points. It says in most cases, Volber said that the lawsuits contained allegations that seek to trigger reimbursement under real estate professionals' liability insurance policy. Some of those claims include non-disclosure, meaning an agent or broker withheld material information from their client, or negligence and misrepresentation during the transaction, right? So another reason why we need to be on top of our valuation. Well, Mondays are, we got to know the RPA inside and out, right? Our listing agreements inside and out. That's why I have Frank that does the trainings, our contract trainings on Monday, right? We got to know these things. We got to be on top of these things. I myself too need to do this also. We'd have to get familiar with these contracts, guys. This is vital, right? As we can see in this article and other articles that I've read like this, right? And now that things have slowed down, values are stable or decreasing. Now we're getting a lot of upset sellers and a lot of upset buyers. I've heard of a couple of friends of mine that they bought last year and they're having buyer's remorse. They're like, maybe I paid too much. Maybe this blah, blah, maybe I should have put that extra 30,000 above appraised value, should have offered that. Now they're thinking about it like, what did I do, right? So a non-disclosure, right? We got to be transparent, right? When we're having our listing, where we're doing our listings, we got our sellers out there say, hey, we have to have, we have to disclose, things, repairs and things like that on these properties. We don't want the buyers to come back for negligence, right? Or misrepresentation of the property. So I just wanted to show this article out there today and just show there's a whole bunch of this. There's a bigger article. There's other viewpoints, other points, but I thought these are the two that really kind of.
I,
Okay, you have a question, Delia?
it's actually, I'm listening to you. It's my first time here, but it's interesting that you're covering this because I actually manufacture homes, tend to kind of be a little different scenario. And recently, I know that I had a colleague who had an escrow and the buyer was not happy because
Right.
he actually found mold and that was not disclosed in the inspection report.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. See, that's a tough one. Yeah. The mold that the property inspector did not catch?
No.
The home inspector? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a tough one. I just wonder if there's other clues that could have been seen in other areas. That's a tough one because you kind of rely on the property inspector, the home inspector to catch things like that. But that's like I said, we try to do the best we can. Sometimes we can't catch everything, but as long as we're trying to not mislead the buyers, then I think we're trying our best to do our due diligence. So that's why I was going. Contracts Mondays, technology. We need that technology, right? With Kate, and of course property valuation. So we try to cover these things so we can at least be fully prepared as much as possible when we go out there and meet with our buyers and meet with our sellers. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that out there tonight and kind of show you guys, what's out there, what's looming out there. Hopefully we're not going to be involved in any of that, any lawsuits or anything. I just wanted to kind of go over that with you on that article.
I just quickly want to understand what did they say? What did they miss? Is it mold or Walt?
Delia, did you want to take that? I think she said mold.
Mold. They identify mold, and that was not disclosed in the inspection report.
That's surprising, right? If don't the isn't that one of the primary things inspection looks for, mold?
Yes.
That should be, yeah, that should be.
That should be, yes, it should be. But the fun fact is that this colleague was a new realtor, and she kind of gave it quite evidently that she was new in the field.
Well, we have multiple disclosures in California that give warning after warning after warning after warning after warning, and then inspectors themselves put disclaimers in all of their reports. I don't know an inspector that doesn't put in there that they're not a mold professional. True. But if there is any sign of it, they will point it out. They also have disclaimers putting in there that they're giving their best visible interpretation of the home. So I don't think that suit's going to stick myself. Right. It would have to be malicious. Usually when it does stick, it's something where they'd have to prove that the seller covered it up, hid it. And if they did cover it up or hide it, why do you think the inspector couldn't find it? Because it was hidden, you know? It's a very, very tough thing to find someone guilty of. You know, I was part of the Pacific West Association of Realtors grievance committee, and things like this, we'd hear about it all the time, and they really don't, it's really hard to go after someone like that unless you can prove that they covered it up, basically,
Right.
you know. And an inspector themselves, there is no true license for an inspector. You can get certifications and things like that. And even with the agents, we have what's called an agent visual inspection disclosure, an AVID, and it says in there that all we're going to do is give an obvious and reasonable interpretation or you know, opinion of the home. We are not mold experts. We're not lead-based paint experts. We're none of the sort. So I really truly don't think that people that file those suits are really going to go anywhere unless it was an exceptional case where it looked like it was obviously covered up, you know.
Right.
Like, and when it does happen, I've heard it happen more with, let's say, flippers, because, you know, that fresh wall is painted and they just decided instead of ripping the wall out to save money, they just put primer and paint over it. And that might be provable there too, because the incubation time frame for mold to really develop takes a while, and it would probably be called into question, how could you not see that and how could you not know that, you know?
Right.
So I'm sorry to go on about it, but I've been involved with a couple of my agents that had cases like that. And one of my agents, their buyer, it looked like a no-brainer that they were going to win, and they didn't. They just couldn't ultimately prove it.
Right.
You know.
That's useful information that gives.
Yeah. But that's not to say don't be careful, even though we've got all these disclosures. Be careful. And if you see something, point it out and tell an inspector to take a second look. More importantly, tell the buyer, if you're really concerned about that, hire a mold inspection company, a professional company with, you know, people that are licensed to do that. I mean, it's going to cost you a few extra dollars, but if you're really concerned about it, have it tested, like actually tested by a professional, not just looked at by an inspector.
Right. As long as you're not trying to misrepresent, you know, voluntarily, that if the seller knew something and didn't say anything, you know, that's a different story, right?
Yeah.
But if they're just, you know, trying to cover it up, but you know, maybe the seller didn't know, or maybe I don't know where the mold was. Was it in the inside the wall where you couldn't see it, or I mean,
well, there's one
was there
case
any evidence for the outside, you know? So
yeah,
things like
one
that.
case a while back, a agent friend of mine, mold started coming through the ceiling, and that's because there was I guess it was a roof leak, but the leak wasn't so substantial that it actually leaked into the house so that they could see water droplets coming in. Okay. And although an inspector did look at in the attic, it was, for whatever reason, they didn't catch this area right here. And eventually, you know, obviously gravity, water is going to find its way down somewhere. And eventually it went deep into the wood, settled there, and eventually turned to mold. That didn't, you know, once again, that case couldn't go anywhere, because how do you say that the seller knew that was going on? Because me, you know, owning a home, I don't crawl in my attic or crawl under my crawl space in the house. I don't know what's going on above or under the house. All I know is what's obvious and visible to me, you know.
Right.
But is that something that realtors should mention to the person that's going to buy or sell? And just
Well,
ask them if that's something they want to do, just to
we've actually got multiple disclosures. It says it in the RPA. It says it in the hazard books that are given to us as disclosures. It says it in the packet from the Natural Hazard Disclosure Report. It says it in the SBSA disclosure. These are all disclosures. Oh, it says it in the TDS, which is a transfer disclosure statement from seller to buyer. The SBQ, it mentions it. It mentions it in many places. So to me, honestly, it's kind of like like I did a lot of foreclosure back in the day. And I would show up to a home after it was foreclosed on and the bank took possession of it on title. And I had to go and approach these homes to knock the door to find out who's living there. Was it the owner that just got foreclosed on? Was it a tenant? Was it abandoned? And you would not believe how many people, when I knock on the door, were the actual owners that claim they didn't get one of the, 17 letters that were sent to them about the foreclosure coming.
Wow.
So I don't know if a buyer could say, well, I didn't know anything about mold because it says it in the RPA, which is the offer itself. It says it here, there, everywhere, up and down. It's hard to avoid it. We throw it in the buyer's face about mold is one of the big things. And of course, them performing a home inspection and finding out the overall condition. We'll talk more about this probably likely on Monday. I'll bring in some disclosure topics, and I'll bring in some of those disclosures in our red line circle, and you'll see like, whoa, boom, it's here, it's there, boom, boom. How can you miss it? It's in bold print here, there. I just honestly, I don't know how it could be missed.
Right.
It's just like living in California and you're told we have earthquakes and you say, well, I didn't know you were serious. I mean, just ask the people of Northridge. Yeah, we're very.
All I could say or something like that, I could just imagine where it was located at, where the mold was located. It had to be in some little remote corner, because if the buyer, the seller, the property inspector and the appraiser didn't see it either.
Well, that's the thing. Even in the Avid, it says that we as agents are to do an obvious and visible inspection.
Right.
So we're not supposed to like pull back couches and pull
Well, of course not,
refrigerators.
yeah.
I know,
That-
but see, that's somewhere where that stuff can be, where inspectors
right.
don't do that either.
Right. No, yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm just saying it must have been in an area, so
Accordingly
secluded
to
or
them, it
out
was-
of the view of the.
I have
It was found under the sink.
Oh, is that under the sea? Oh, but you would have thought maybe the home inspector the property inspector would have caught that one maybe, because they go they should go under the
Well-
sink and check the
Well,
plumbing.
let's say he looks under the sink and there's cleansers and all kinds of products under there and whatever. They don't pull all those things out. They don't do that. They put the flashlight in there and they're looking
Yeah, that's
around and
true.
they,
Yeah,
they
you're
do
right.
their best.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because everybody's got some, well, I'm not going to call it an angle, but they've got something that they justify when they're upset. And then that's why every year we have another page added of disclosure or another page
Right.
added to the contract to plug the hole of that people are always finding somewhere,
Right.
especially in California. We are the lawsuit capital of
that-
actually the world, not even the country, but
Litigation
the world.
capital of the world.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's why we are at least 2 to 3 to 1 as far as how much, even though it's a digital paperwork, how many documents we have in a transaction. When you go to other states, you'd say to yourself, what, the contract's like 3 pages and like 2 or 3 disclosures. And out here, our contract's 16 pages. And really, ultimately, if you were to count every page of every disclosure that we give in a transaction, it's about 250 pages of disclosure. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming for buyers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But-
for
And
sure.
but I could see how buyers can say, well, I didn't see that. I missed it, but it's in the vital documents that, it's hard to avoid. But I
But-
do bring it up to them. It's a good thing to do when you send the disclosures to the buyer, always send it to them email. Okay, so you can have a paper trail. And I always tell them, even in my disclosure, that if there's anything that they may be concerned about, roof, electric, plumbing, foundation, water damage, mold, I list a list of things. And I tell them, pay attention to my disclosure in particular, because I'm telling you some things that you need to check into further. And I'll schedule it. I'll get a foundation person over to that house if that's what what you're worried about, whatever. So I don't know. I think sometimes people you know, I've been doing this for 21 years and it's just a matter of just tell them everything. Don't candy coat, don't sugarcoat. I was at a brokerage a while back and the broker, because I was coaching the agents, I was a training manager. And he'd say, why are you telling the agents to tell the buyer that this could happen and that could happen? And I'd say, because this could happen or that could happen, and our clients need to know. Because if we don't tell them, and then it does happen, they're going to find out from a friend who bought a home, or someone, maybe they got a friend who's an agent who wasn't there to help them at that time, but then they bring it up like, hey, your agent should have told you that this could happen. See, people don't want to be blindsided. I think they're better served to be told the not good things that can happen up front, so that if they happen, you look like you're a psychic, not that you are hiding things from them and blindsiding them with surprises. Because at that point, when they're blindsided with negative things that happen, it's hard to, even if they do have options, it's hard to get them back on track because they're so upset. If you tell them ahead of time, this or that, or the other thing could happen, but these are our options if it does, they simply know you told them ahead of time something could happen. Not only that, you told them what the A, B, C, and D plan are. Now they just got to make a choice.
Right.
You know.
And
So
I think
go ahead.
I
I didn't mean to
apologize to
hijack
interject, but
the training. I'm sorry.
No, that's, no, go
No,
ahead.
I
No, this is what I
apologize for
like.
the
I like this
interrupt-
discussion.
I do
Go ahead.
apologize for interjecting, but I think
No.
that that's like you mentioned something that's very important amongst new agents. You know, I literally I've been in it 2 years in real estate, which I consider myself still fairly new. But I think what I've noticed, especially with like people that come straight out of high school, that they don't take the time to actually read over these documents, and they just go based on what they're being told to do rather than making time to understand the language in these documents.
I agree with you, Delia, and I'd say 90+% of the in-house trainers, and it doesn't matter if they're at a big box, KW, Coldwell Banker, whatever, because I've been in big box before. Those trainers are they're singular. You got to show up on this day at this time, and they're always teaching the same thing. Always, so you never get to page 2 about anything. And on top of it, a lot of them just don't stay up to what the rule changes are. And they're not, and then some of them aren't even doing transactions. So it's kind of like you go to the gym and that guy over there with the beer belly is going to show you how to get a 6-pack. Doesn't make sense, you know? So, but I agree with you. They're not taught well. I see this happen especially a lot. Unfortunately, it happens actually more so with the boutique offices, because the smaller offices just don't have
They don't have time.
the
They
time
don't
or
have
the
time to train.
resources to teach their
Right.
people, unfortunately. Okay, I'm gonna be
No.
quiet now. Sorry.
No. Thank you, Frank. I like the interjection. This is what I like
Well-
in my trainings. I like all this interaction because we learn from each other, right? Basically. And
Well-
Delia, this information isn't just for new agents, it's for all agents.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I mean,
for
I've
everybody.
had,
It's like, because a lot of times we just, take things for granted sometimes. And so that's why I thought this article was very, very important, especially at the beginning of this
Thank you.
year. And I know that with the hearing things, the buyers and sellers, just, in my world, so I thought, let's get this out, and, because at least a lot of these things might come back, we gotta be fully prepared, as much as we can to, try to avoid it, as much as possible. But sometimes like this one with the mold, I don't know what the whole issues were, all the issues. But of course, any other questions, comments on this at all? Thank you so much for all the interjection.
Yeah,
Uh,
one
that-
question. When Frank said you send the disclosure and you let them know that they have to go through the disclosure, as a practice, do we sit down with them and give them an overview of what these disclosures are? I mean, from this page to this page, this is the disclosure. From this page to this page, this is the disclosure. Is that what we do? Or is it
go ahead.
like the same? Yeah.
I would, to the best of your ability. I mean, Frank might, do it very in detail, but I would definitely let them know what this is.
Well, as many disclosures as we have, there's really only 3 to 4 key disclosures. And like I said, on each one of those, it mentions due diligence, look into it. Don't depend on anybody or any other information, or even your agent solely. You need to look into it on your own. And then it does talk about mold. It does talk about foundation. It talks about earthquakes. I mean, these disclosures repeated all over the place. It's hard to miss it. And I think that's why if a case like that were to go into a courtroom, yeah, the professional should know that and this and that, but common sense, I think, would probably win over on the side of common sense, because it's just too in your face to miss. But to answer your question, yes, I do go over the TDS, which is a transfer disclosure statement, which most transactions require the seller to provide the buyer. And then the SPQ, the seller property questionnaire. Those 2 things are really the seller's written word and boxes checked yes or no about everything they know about that property. Do you go by that alone? No. That's why you have your professional home inspector to go in there and find all the missing pieces there. Does it stop there? No. The agent visual inspection disclosure is the agent telling the buyer what their opinion is. So it's kind of like three different people going into a room with a broom. One comes in and what they miss, the other one sweeps up, and what the other one misses, the other one sweeps up. It's kind of hard to be a buyer and say, I had no idea about any of this, but I do explain the key disclosures to them. And then I do put language in there that's bold about them doing their due diligence, looking into the city, checking for unpermitted items. And I do put in there, if anything red flags you, we're going to bring in a professional. And then I make them sign what's called a buyer inspection waiver, where it says, I've advised them, and by them not doing these things and going against their advice, it's their fault. Sign here, buyer. These are things as an agent you need to do to protect yourself, to protect your license, because you're going to get someone angry and irrational. And even though it's not your fault, they'll come after you.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, in a nutshell, protect yourself and fully disclose. Okay. So real quick on that. So thank you again for that that little conversation there. I'm going to move on real quick. I have a couple more items, then we're going to go into some evaluation process here. So another little thing that I saw that I kind of wanted to go over with tonight, and I don't know about you, but we're always hearing like your buyers are always like, well, I'm gonna wait, I'm waiting, about what happened like in 2008, right? We're always going back. It's like, maybe we're gonna have a lot of foreclosures, and maybe we're gonna have a lot of short sales, and I'm just gonna wait and hold on, because that might happen. So I got this from one of my title reps that I used to use years ago. Really nice guy. He sent this the other day to me, and I thought, this is awesome. This is great. I like this, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And it's today's market versus 2008, right? I don't know, a lot of you were in the market, the real estate market, but we knew what happened in 2008, right? Basically, the market fell. I mean, it was a bad time, right? Versus today, yeah, today is bad. We're, economy is strong, but we have a lot of different indicators these days that make it a little shaky, right? The recession's looming. Everybody, recession, but market's going to crash. This, that, and the other. Is it going to be as bad as 2008? So this is a good graphic that he sent me. So this is basically today versus 2008. So some of these things are a little iffy that I thought. So the first one is job cuts. The current markets, there's none. Back in 2008, there was 8 million. Current market is none. Job cut, I would say no. There's actually Amazon. There's a lot of companies these days that are starting to lay off. A lot of tech are laying off. a little brick and mortar. You know, we're hearing about all these layoffs lately. So when they say current market job cuts, it says none. That's a little, are we gonna hit 8 million? I heard more like 1.5 to 1.8 million job losses this year, possibly. I'm not sure if we're gonna get to 8 million. But so that none is, I don't know, I kind of disagree on that. Total jobs, we have 158 million versus 138 million. Our unemployment rate is still very low. It's still what, 3.6, 3.7, very low. Nothing crazy. They say it's going to probably increase maybe another percentage point to about 4.7, 4.8 this year, possibly. But who knows? We don't know. But we know that their companies are cutting employees, right? Subprime loans, right? What are subprime loans, right? Does anybody know subprime loans? What's a subprime loan? Well, a subprime loan, subprime loan is a loan above par, right?
So
People-
isn't the prime loan for people who don't have great credit?
Exactly. Exactly. Subprime loans are those loans that are above prime, that are the interest rates is higher because they're riskier, their credit's not as good. So of course they're more of a risk. And right here, we don't have that many subprime loans. There's probably some, but not as many. It was prevalent in 2008, right? All those bad loans. That was like one of the major reasons for the whole downfall, basically. New construction, we have 4.6 billion new construction versus 7.65 million new construction back at that time. Inventory on the market, 1 to 1.2 million. In 2008, we had 3.8 to 4 million properties on the market, and the majority of these were foreclosures and short sales, right? So that was huge, right? That was an investor's dream, basically. And I'm sure Frank could vouch for all this because he was doing foreclosures at that time. So he knows exactly, how it was in 2008 versus today. So mortgage delinquencies, yes, there is delinquencies now. Of course, now with a little rising unemployment, a little bit, people are losing it. So it's at 3.6% versus mortgage delinquencies back in 2008, over 10%. Right. So again, that was another reason for all those properties on the market. We had a lot of foreclosure. We had a lot of different short sales and different things like that, right? A lot of people doing loan modifications and anything just to get back on track with their mortgage, okay? And the homes in foreclosure. Back then, well, now we have only like 0.6, not even 1%, right? Versus back in 2008, we have 4.6, almost 5% of the properties were in foreclosure. So this is a great little graph. This is to show people that what the difference was back in 2008 versus what it is today. That was quite a few years ago, and you can't even compare what we have today versus what we had 2008. And if anybody wants a copy of this to show, if you're doing your buyers or sellers, or you need just anything, any type of information like this, I always think like things like this really show light. This is coming from a title rep, so I'm assuming these numbers are pretty accurate. So if you want a copy of this, just I'll give you my email, my number. You can text me if you want a copy of this. I can always send this to you. But I always thought this was a really good little visual on market statistics of what the market is today versus what it was back in 2008. Okay. So any questions on that? No? Okay. So another thing I wanted to share also was, and this is just a real quick one. Real quick.
That's a great chart.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, yeah, if you adjust the jobs part, that's a really good example there.
Yeah, I really liked it, and I thank his name is Stan Gianaro. He is a title rep. I've used him. I've known him for a long time, and he sent that to me. I go, that was perfect. I go, this is perfect. I'm gonna use it tonight. And this is just one last little thing that I thought was pretty interesting. I don't know about you, but I thought this is it. I'm always collecting this stuff. Maybe I'm like a geek or something like that, but I'm always like a financial geek. But I'm always looking at this stuff and like I am a finance major back in the day, so I think I'm just drawn to this stuff for some reason. But we've heard about it, the inflation rates, right? At the last year was 9.1%, right? And then it went down to what 8.5 to 8 to 7.1. Now we're at 6.5%. But if you can see this, I don't know if you can see this, but these are all many countries, because it's a global inflation, right? It's not us that's suffering from inflation.
Right.
Throughout the world, this is happening. And I know we complain, and I know this, that, the other. I do too. When I go to the market, I'm mowing and groaning, buying eggs that are $8 to $10. It's like, it's like nuts, right? It's like, upset. But then I look at this graph, it's like, okay, well, we're 6.5, so we're doing better than some, but worse than others. We got to look at South Africa, Mexico, they're at 7.5, 7.8, 8.1, Germany 8.6, all the way to UK at 10.7% of inflation rate. Right. And I bring this to your attention because all this stuff, it determines values of your home, right? Valuation of your home, the real estate market in general. This is an aspect, one of the components that either reflects on the valuation or the value, the sales price, the listing price of your home, right? So I like to bring these things up, so maybe it might make you feel a little bit better that you're not paying, that your inflation rate is not 12% like in Russia or in Argentina, Venezuela. Of course, their economies are pretty much going downhill. They're at 92 and 156%. So in Italy, it's 11.6. So I just wanted to show you that it's not just us. Maybe, sometimes we get a little focused on ourselves, that this is a global inflation. It's not just us, so I just wanted to bring that out there. And it kind of made me feel a little bit better after I saw this, okay, we're not doing the greatest, but we're not also the worst either. So if you want a copy of this also, I can send this to you, and it's just a little indicator that but at least we're going in the right direction. Inflation is going down, they say. I don't see it too much when I go to the market that much, but that's what they say. The inflation is going down. So any questions or comments on that? No? Okay. So I just thought that was a good little so any questions or comments on what we've done so far, or what we got through so far?
Oh, you definitely feel bad for the Venezuelans.
Excuse me?
You definitely feel bad for the Venezuelans.
Oh, yeah.
156? What?
Well, Venezuela, yeah, well, their economy is going downhill fast, very fast. So now that we've done all that, now we're going to start to get into what we're here for, I guess, for evaluation. We're going to do some valuation. And I think if this property is Renee, right? Renee, you're out there, right?
Yes.
This is a property, I'm going to bring it up here, that we're going to assist Renee in doing a quick valuation of this property. And this is what I hear is does everybody see my screen? You see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is a property, what I hear is that you put an offer on, And Renee, I'm gonna let you take it away. You can kind of describe it real quick.
Yeah, so this is a personal transaction. We put an offer in earlier last week.
Uh-huh.
Got back a counter for highest and best offer. So that's where we're at
Okay.
now. Just heard back today that one of the other buyers had a medical emergency, so they're giving them an extra 2 days to put in their counter.
Okay.
So we're just waiting till Friday to hear back.
So is it just you and this other person?
Initially, so when I first spoke to her, it was just two of us.
Uh-huh.
From what I understand, this other buyer has it's contingent on selling their property,
Uh-huh.
which the sellers do not care too much for.
Right.
But they
Oh,
are.
okay.
It looks like they are offering a little bit more than I am.
Okay.
I think that's where they're stuck right now, trying to figure out what she's going to counter with, as far as like what contingency she'll remove.
Right, right. So, okay, so that's a good little, so this is you put quite a few offers right on some homes there, right?
Yeah.
We've done quite a few of these on your properties, right?
This would be our third one. Yeah, this is our third one that has been going
No
through.
luck,
Yeah.
so no luck so far, right?
Well, the last one that you did for me, we actually went into contract, and then during inspection we found some major foundation issues, so we had to back out of that
Okay.
one. So this is
Okay,
round 3.
right. Oh, well, there you go. Was it disclosed, the foundation issues, or you just found the,
No, it was not.
see?
Yeah, and
See?
it was interesting. We were talking about the inspector and the mold. My inspector had mentioned that there is some furniture placed in odd places.
Oh,
So he couldn't
uh-huh.
see behind them. So he
Oh.
advised me to make sure I get someone to look for mold. And he called out a couple of those locations. There was like random pieces of furniture in areas where they just didn't fit right. Like it was just out of
Oh.
place.
That-
Obviously he
that's a-
couldn't move them.
That's a good indicator. That's a great, yeah, like, yeah, what do you try to hide, right?
Yeah.
What are you trying to hide? That's a good thing. So we learned something today when we're doing inspections for our buyers, or we're doing a seller inspection, where we take a listing. Yeah, why is that chair right there? Why is
Yeah, and it was like larger furniture. Like there's a dresser.
or
you
a
can see
dresser? Yeah, why
rooms.
is the
Yeah.
dresser like in
Why
the
is there
middle
a
of the
dresser
hallway or
here?
something?
Yeah, something you couldn't see through it. You couldn't see under. You couldn't see around it. It was
Yeah.
like blocking something.
So that's a good thing. I mean, yeah, keep that in mind. These things that are kind of out of place, right?
Yeah.
You can't really describe it, but why is that there? Maybe they're hiding something, right?
Yeah.
But foundation issues, right? That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. And I'm assuming the seller knew.
They did some. I think I had mentioned to you. They did some unpermitted work.
Oh, yeah,
So they were aware of some of the issues, but there
right.
were some issues. They didn't disclose it. At least I had not received the TDS or any of the information yet because we got our inspector in right away.
Right.
But they came back kind of shocked and they didn't believe the issue until they got the report. But they were stuck on their price. The house is still listed for the same price. They're not budging on that. They're not getting any credits. They're not even living here. They're in Texas now. They're still.
Well, with foundation issues, that's going to be a tough one because that's a huge repair. That's a costly repair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a costly one. So that's going to be a tough one. But you're lucky you got out of it. So
yeah,
good for you.
Well worth that.
Yeah,
money we spent on it.
You're learning firsthand.
Yeah.
So this is a nice little house. It's the address is 709 Bartolo Avenue in the city of Montebello.
Correct.
I know Montebello pretty. I've done a lot of work there in the city of Montebello because I live here in West Covina, so Montebello is not too far from here. So I'm pretty familiar with the city of Montebello. Nice town, nice little town. So here's the listing. 709 Bartolo Avenue in the city of Montebello. It's currently listed for $760. It's been on the market for a couple months now. Originally listed at $810.
Yes.
Whoa, okay. So what I usually like to do first when I'm doing my valuations, when I'm doing something, for buyers, I like to see the history. It started at 9/2022. So that's what, September? And not till December did they lower it to 760. So it was on the market for a while until they lowered it, right?
Yes.
So this is what we're trying to avoid. And again, I don't know the motivation for the seller. Or I don't know the reasons in the transaction why this, stayed that value and then list price, and then all of a sudden they lowered it. Because that's quite a while for the property to be on the market at that price and not moving.
Mhm.
And again, I don't know how many offers they had within that time frame. Doesn't sound like they had many. So again, we don't know the inner workings of the buyer and the seller and the agent. But it looks like a nice home, based on what I see here. I know it's in a nice residential area. I know this area, there's a lot of single family homes. This house is built in the 60s. Looks clean. It's clean, right? Right, Renee? It's clean.
It's outdated. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it looks
outdated.
dated but clean,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, the counter, you still have the ceramic tile counters.
Yeah.
Kind of a slope backyard. Little patio in the back. But a nice, nothing, a nice property, nice location. Is there any upgrades at all? Great curb appeal, blah, 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 blah. Submit your
No, it
offer.
looks like the house is original from the 60s. Nothing has been done to it. There's no central AC. Really
Oh,
no
no
upgrades.
central AC?
No.
Okay.
Oh, the only thing is the windows. Sorry, the windows and the rear door was replaced.
Yeah, it looks like there's some dual pane windows.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're gonna put some central air and heat, so that's another 20, 25 right there
Yeah.
on top of your purchase price here.
Yeah.
So we're listed at 760. And so what we're gonna do now is real quick, we're gonna go and we're gonna search. We're gonna start searching 90640, 90640. So for the people that haven't been to my trainings, I want to see the market. I want to see where the market's going in this zip code of 90640. All right. So what I go is I go to detail. Hopefully everybody's pretty familiar with the MLS. This is the MLS. I go coming soon, active under contract, pending, and closed. I go 1 year back, 365 days. I want to see the market activity within that year, the trend. I'm looking for trend lines. I want to know what the trends are of single family homes in this zip code. No criteria, just homes that sold within the last 12 months, right? I'm not, like I said, I'm not putting beds and baths, square footage, or anything like that, right? In the city of Montebello. So what we get is about, how many do we get here? Oh, I didn't put the zip code in. Sorry about that, guys. 90640. 90640. That's better. So let's get, my mouse is pretty bad here. So 172. So there's a lot of activity in the last year in the city of Montebello, which makes sense because it's a pretty affordable, nice area. Price point is pretty affordable, or was affordable. I don't know about it now, but it's so when I get here, I get all of them. I want to see, I want information, I want data. So I could get them all. I click all here and I go to print. And then I go all the way down where it says 1004 MC market condition summary. Because this is going to show me, it's going to give me a grid of the market trends in the city of Montebello in this zip code. And hopefully you guys, I don't know what boards you have, but hopefully that you have this capability to do this 1004 MC statistical summary. So this is going to show the market trends within the last 12 months in this zip code in Montebello. So the prior 7 to 12 months, there was 33 sales. In the mid months, 19, and now currently 13. So the market is slowing down. We know the market is slowing down. Let's see about the comparable sales prices. 700 to 660, it went down. That's a little crazy. And now we're at 720. So it's maintaining. It's kind of the values are maintaining. The value here overall is, it may be even going up a little bit, appreciating a little bit. But if nothing else, is definitely maintaining. The values are maintaining here in the city of Montebello, which is a good thing. That's a great thing. Number of active listings. We had 5 at the beginning of the year. We have 15 in the middle, and now we have 25. So there's a lot of listings out there. There are more listings now. And the days on market, let's see, comparable list days on market, 79 to 92 to 39. So it seems like this market has stayed pretty steady in terms of value. But one thing I see here, this median sales price by median list price. So this is 107.7, 101, and 96. 100% is that the property sold for list price, okay? So this, at the beginning of the year, of course, things are selling above list price, right? 107.7, like almost 100, like 8% above list price, basically, it seems like. In the mid months, well, not 8%, but 7 point, what this percentage is. So the mid months, it was 1.154, so closer to list price, selling just a little above list price mid months. And now we're below 100%. So it seems like things are selling below list price. And you got to remember, this is an average. This is the whole entire, you know, just property, there was single family, not condos, not PUDs, not multifamily. This is just single families, right? This is just the single family market. So right here indicates that the last 3 months, things are selling under list price, okay? So we'll see about that. And again, this is, Renee, if you want me to send this to you, I can send this to you if you need it. Excuse me?
How did you generated that? Is that through the MLS?
That's through the MLS. But a lot of, the only thing that I worry about is that you can do this, but sometimes what I've heard some people don't have, you have to scroll all the way down. You got to go to print and scroll all the way down. And it goes 1004 MC market condition summary. And some MLSs don't offer that. I mean, some boards don't offer this grid. So if you don't have this and you need one of these, you can always text me or contact me. After this, I'm going to give you all my contact information, and you guys, you reach out to me if you want one of these in whatever specific area you're at. So I could create one of these for you. But sometimes a lot of people have this info and others do not. You can't create it. So we're going to go back to my criteria. I don't want all of these now. There's too many of them, right? There's just too many of them. So I don't want any of these. So now I'm going to put in my criteria. I'm not going to put in bedrooms, baths. The least criteria, the better. All I'm going to put is in the year built. So it was built in 1962. I'm going to go 1950. About 1975, maybe. Let's go 1975. Right? Something like that. And the square footage was about 1,500. Is that what it was, Renee? About 1,500, 15 something?
It's 1640.
1640. Okay. So I'm gonna go about 1,400 to about 60 to about 2,000. Give me 2,000. I'm gonna go just a quick 2,000. right? So now how many do we have here? 38. So we don't have that many. With it, and I'm just gonna leave the last 12 months. That's fine. We don't have that many, 38. So that's fine. First off, I look on my street. That's the first thing I look. What's sold on my street? Bartolo, that's us, and that's it. That's the only thing. I think Blanda is really close, right? Blanda's right there. Isn't it? I think it's pretty close around that neighborhood, somewhere around there. So what I'm gonna do now, so there's really nothing on my street. Now I'm gonna look for year built. And all these are pretty much in my neighborhood. I'm gonna look, I'm sure they're pretty much all within my my market area. Montebello isn't the biggest town, so we're built in 62. So we got some properties here in the 60s. 61, we have something for 870, 870, 760, that's us. 940. 760 on Lincoln. This is 1960. 760. How's this one on Lincoln? It's a trust sale. This looks very average. Kind of looks like us. Was listed for 789, sold for 760. Just recently. Did you take a look at this property, Renee?
I did. That was one of those. There's also one actually right behind the house that was just sold like last week. It's a little smaller. But that one was like an anomaly that was sold for 840.
840?
Yeah, but it is turnkey. It is like
Greenwood?
No, it's on Lincoln.
Oh, it's on
I
Lincoln
don't
too?
see it here. The square footage must be a little smaller. It was
okay.
a 3-2, but it's directly like adjacent yards. The backyards are adjacent to each other.
This one at 18. This one sold for 895 on Lincoln.
No, that's a little further.
Oh, that's a little bit
north,
further.
What is it? North, east,
Right.
northwest, actually.
Wow. Okay. This must be a really nice one versus sold in August. So 760. So I'm looking at 760, 760, got that one. 705. Greenwood.
That is South Montebello, yeah.
That's South
that's over there.
Montebello. Yeah. This one doesn't look as nice either. $760 Trust, 705, 765 Edwin Aldred.
That is closer. Yeah, that is actually.
Yeah, that's closer. But this was very average too, really average. Maybe less than average.
Mhm.
Needs a complete remodeling job. And that's sold in September, but it's bigger and it sold for 765. 35,000 over list price in that condition. Woo. Okay. Auction. We got an auction property here at 760, 773. $773 was listed for 675.
Yeah.
And that sold in June, so that makes sense. That makes sense. I can see that because the market, summertime, market, hot.
Quick point here, Renee.
What
did that price start off at?
Which one? 760? Which
The
one was that
auction
one? Oh, the auction. 675.
Okay, here's a good example of when you get a buyer who's looking at foreclosures, or they're looking at short sales, or they're looking at auctions. One of the key things that agents do, listing agents, is they'll put that too good to be true, unbelievable price on it. And it truly is too good to be true. That home is going to sell for whatever the market is or close to it based on its condition. It's not going to be given away. So just something for your buyers who are those dreamers that think that they got magic powers and special tools that they're going to be able to pull off feats of incredible purchase like nobody else can, is just, it's not realistic. You know,
Right.
so be realistic and get out there and don't let them pass up opportunities because of their dream purchase.
Yeah.
Not
This
only their
pro-
dream home, but their dream purchase, like the commercial where that lady, the prices are so low at IKEA that she's telling her husband to start the car because she feels like she just robbed the place.
Right. And that's a good point. And they probably did that because it's an auction sale, right? So they're like, we're gonna put it at an auction price.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
just a starting price.
yeah.
Usually for those types of sales.
And it sold in June. So that's a hot part of the market. And it is only on the market for 24 days. So they, that was like, okay, we're gonna put this price at 675 so we can get a lot of offers, right? We're gonna get a lot of foot traffic to this property. And the property itself doesn't look that bad for auction property. You know what I mean? I don't know how it looks originally, but these photos look okay. I've seen worse for sure. So just based on what I see here, and your property looks pretty good. I mean, 760 doesn't look bad at all. Are they gonna give, is the seller going to give you any credit?
So the seller was offering a rate buy down,
Okay,
which we're not taking. We took care of that with our lender. So we're asking for a price reduction instead of that credit. And they did disclose that they found some termite damage that they will be taking care of before the close of escrow.
okay, so if they're not gonna do the buyer, the buy down, did you ask if you could get some for closing costs?
No, I think we're okay with that. So we're okay paying everything, all closing costs. We're just kind of interested in getting our loan at a certain amount. So
Oh,
we're
okay.
interested in just getting that number down.
Okay, so 760, what do you had, what'd you offer, 750, 745?
745, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you want to cover the closing costs, that's gonna be what, 2%? Yeah, so 2% is, yeah, so.
Yeah.
At least over 10,000. And he was good with the 745?
Yeah, so basically what the agent had mentioned is initially I wasn't going to put in my counter. That was kind of our max. Or initially we offered 740.
Oh, okay.
So we just went up 5. And she's given a lot of hints throughout our conversations. Been using a lot of the stuff that Frank has talked about, just kind of having a small talk and trying to figure out where they're at. I know the kids are the ones selling the house. They're ready to sell. They finally came into agreement. The house has been sitting for almost a decade.
Oh,
With no one living in it. Off and on. So like people will move in for a few months, like one of the siblings will move in, but no one has had that as their primary residence for a while. So they finally came to agreement. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but they finally came to agreement to sell. And they're ready to sell. There is an investor who was putting in a cash offer.
okay.
I'm not sure where it came from. I'm not sure if the parents put it into some kind of trust, something in the trust where they don't want to sell to an investor, or it was mentioned to them, but they don't want investors involved. So they want to sell to a family.
Send it to a family, okay.
And then the other thing that she brought up was that there was an offer a bit above asking with multiple contingencies, which they're kind of worried about.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're trying to see if we would go up a little higher or they would remove some of the contingencies.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're at now.
Well, with that, I mean, with just based what I see here, you're getting it. It sounds good. Sounds like a kind of a good deal. You have this one at 700, but that's on Montebello Boulevard. So but it looks nicer. It looks nice, but it's Montebello Boulevard is a heavy traffic street, so yeah, if you can pick it up for 740, I think looks like it's not bad. No, I don't think, just based on what I see here.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like, like it seems very, very reasonable. It's what on Wilcox? It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. That's sold at 635.
Mhm.
And your house is bigger, but this house, this was updated, but it's on Wilcox, which is a traffic street.
Yeah, the main comp that they keep referring to, it's on Lincoln. It's right next to the house. It said it just so I think it's not coming up because it might be a smaller square footage, I'm assuming, or one of your criteria might be taking it out. But it just sold for 840. So that was, and it sold last week. So we're making progress, and then suddenly that purchase went through, and they kind of took a step back and try to revalue. But that one was a completely turnkey, complete remodel. It was a 3.2 and a little bit smaller. But we did see the house, and that house was it was just meticulous, like perfectly done. That one
This
there.
one right here.
Yeah.
704 Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look at that.
Yeah. So that was my counter to them. Like, oh, you can't compare.
Yeah,
Like,
you can't compare. Yeah, it's smaller, but look at it.
yeah. Also mentioned it came out like on HGTV, like one of their.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, no, that's an anomaly. You can't.
That's
we
yeah.
can't do
That's just sale. That's not. That's a sale. That's not a
Yeah.
comparable.
that.
That doesn't compare to your house that you're.
Yeah.
No way. No,
But
that
that's
doesn't-
what the sellers saw, the last thing they saw, and that's kind of
Yeah.
where we took a step
Well, yeah.
back. We're kind of back in that.
Yeah, that's a sale. That's a sale, not a comparable. A
Yeah.
comparable is something comparable to your, like apples for apples, right? Not
Exactly.
apples for oranges, right? Oh,
Yeah.
what apples for onions? They say apples for onions,
Yeah.
not apples for oranges. But yeah, that's not that's not comparable. That's not something.
Yeah. So that my counter, if you look at number 32 on Lincoln as well.
Uh-huh. Okay.
You go up a little further up. Right there, go to the you'll see Lincoln right there, 699.
Yeah, this one, the trust.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that was kind of my counter, like, hey, you're using that as your comparable, but this one's been sitting in the market for like 6 months.
Right.
At 699, they have no offers. Like, you can't use both. You can't use what's gonna, and obviously,
Oh, look, this is on market for 125 days.
Yeah.
It was 699. It hasn't moved at all.
yeah,
Doesn't look that great. So
yeah,
so yeah, well, there's an argument both ways.
yeah.
But
So
I
we're
think
trying to
where
meet
you're
in the
at, your price point, if you're at 745, you can get it to 740. That'd be great. So at this point, it's just a matter of negotiation. But I think where you're at is a good price point.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's what I think, just based on what I see. I think you're definitely in the right zone, basically.
Yeah, and I provide a lot of the stuff that you have showed us in the previous months, kind of the same
Uh,
process that you were taking. I was kind of going through and kind of sending it to her with my counter, like, hey, look, this is what I'm looking at.
Right.
You're stuck on this one property, but let's look at everything else that's there.
Yeah, you gotta look. Yeah, well, he gave me the highest, of course.
Yeah.
They're always gonna give you the highest,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, and then you countered with the lowest, right? So,
Yeah.
so see what you're doing. See, this
Yeah.
is
And
like
they're
you said,
both neighboring houses. They're within like maybe like 300 feet from each other. They're like 2 lots
Right.
apart.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Yeah.
like, no, like you can't use this high one. I can use this low one, and we're not getting anywhere.
Right. Well, good luck with this one. Hopefully you can get this one.
Hopefully, it's been a
Hopefully.
long road.
Yeah, definitely. Cross your fingers, all right?
Thank you.
No, but I think you're on the right track. Definitely.
Okay,
I think
thank
you're on the right track. And if you can get some closing costs and a little deduction, that'd be even better. Or
Yeah.
repairs, money for some repairs.
Yeah.
But anyhow, okay, guys. So real quick at the end, I am going to, what was I doing here? What was that? Expired doubting. I was gonna give you a homework assignment. I think it was a homework assignment.
Yay!
Yay. So I think this is the one I was looking at. Was it a Montebello or I forget which one, Dowdy, single expired. I was looking at this one before. ID what? 32. Was it Dowdy? Is it this one? I think it was this one on Glen Avenue. And it's in the city of Downey. It's been on the market for 144 days. It's an expired. It's on 12/7/22 Glenlyn Avenue in Downey. I'm just gonna let you. It's 7:49. You guys can look for it. 12722 Glenlyn Glynn Avenue in the city of Downey, 90242. So this is voluntary. It's currently expired, listed at 749, was listed at 749. So basically what I'm asking, and again, it's all voluntary. If you want to practice to do this, practice, right? Learning, always practicing. Expired. So a little homework assignment if you want to do it. The two things I ask, we're going to go over this next week. What do you think the value is? And, it kind of describe kind of the way I do it. And secondly, now that you know the value, what list price would you list it at to get people through, to get a lot of activity, right? We want a price that's not giving it away, but attractive enough to get people in, right? And again, we know that it's a seller's choice, right? It's a seller with, but I'm just gonna, we're just put it in your hands. The seller says, tell me what the list price is, what it should be, So those two things, what do you think it's worth? And what list price would you list it at to get people in to see it, but not give it away, right? So we'll go over this next week. Just those, we'll go as quick as possible through it, and whoever wants to participate can participate. And then I'll go through it myself too, and we'll see, we have a meeting of the minds, right? Okay, you got it. 12722 Glenn, Glynn Avenue in the city of Downey, 90242. It's an expired listing, listed at 749. Okay, so, and one last thing before we go. I am going to put my Linktree information on there. It's my Linktree is going to have all my social media. It's also going to have my Calendly on there. So if you ever want to schedule an hour training, one-on-one training, it's my Calendly. It shows it. You can just click on it, pick up. I think it's usually from 9 to 5. Monday through Friday, blah, 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 blah. You'll see. So if you want to do a one-on-one via my Calendly, you can contact me via that and schedule a one-on-one. You don't have to wait till Wednesday. And I'm going to click on that real quick. I'm going to give you my Calendly info. Okay, I'm going to stop share. So I'm putting my Calendly info in the chat, okay? To everyone. So here's my Calendly info. Okay, that has all my social media, all my whatever. You want to contact me through there. Also, here's my cell number.
Could you also put the address that you just shared on for homework?
Oh, okay. 626-841-3347. This is my cell number. So if you want to contact me directly, You can do that too. And then I will put the address of the property of your homework assignment over here. If you want to do it, again, it's all voluntary. It's up to you. You're not graded at all. But it gives you a little practice of researching, and then not just researching value. It's like, another thing is, how would you explain it to your seller, right? What would you say to your seller when you're doing a listing presentation to have them agree with your list price, right? That's the whole thing. You know, researching and doing all of this is great and wonderful, but communicating that to your seller is another thing, right? Convincing them that this is the way to go, right? Maybe they might not agree, but at least you can show them with research and, you know, that you've done, you know, in a comprehensive, meaningful way to them, that this is kind of the way, what you're looking at, right? So it gives you practice on doing that. I know it's just with all of us and on a Zoom, we're not face to face, you know, directly, you know, in person, but it gives you practice on doing that. Also, it shows you a way to, you know, for buyers too, when you're working with their buyers, it's like, okay, this, you know, they're going to ask you, what do you think, Renee? Or what do you think, Sumathi? You know, what should we offer on this property? Well, then you would explain it, you know, in a certain way that makes sense. So I am going to put the address of the homework Oh, but again, it's just up to you. And, you know, like practice makes perfect, but also doing makes perfect, right? And just doing it in person and getting in front of that seller or that buyer is basically the best way. So that's all I have for tonight. Any questions, comments, concerns tonight? Anybody, any questions at all before we exit?
Great show.
Hopefully, thank you. Hopefully the information that I gave you is informative. If you want that, any of that information that I showed you tonight, just text me, contact me, I'll email it to you. If you want to do a one-on-one, get on my Calendly, that's fine too. We can connect that way also. But hopefully I gave you some good information, just not on comping, but on kind of some different things that kind of drive value and drive the real estate market in general, right? So with that, I want to thank everybody. I really appreciate you showing up on a Wednesday night. I know everybody's busy and we're here at 9:30 in the evening on a Wednesday. But like Frank always says, you know, always be learning, always be learning, always be learning. So hopefully we're all learning together. All right. So good night, everybody.